Welcome to Conversations with Caregivers. I'm
Hi.
Hi, I'm here with Dawna Daily, and we have, I think, two important conversations to have. One is about menopause, because a lot of women that are caregivers are in that time frame or season of life where menopause is present or coming up. And then the other one, I think, is on weight loss and just your health journey. Um, I think today let's focus on menopause. And then if we can miraculously schedule a second time, we can talk
Absolutely.
about,
Yeah, I would love that. That's an ongoing thing too. Well,
yeah.
both of them are really ongoing.
Yeah.
So I talked to my specialist again yesterday just to kind of make some tweaks and maybe do some different things to add to my current program. So it's an ongoing process, both of them. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am really interested to hear how your journey with the menopause began. I say the menopause, which is
The
fascinating.
menopause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the menopause. Because I was on a Zoom with some friends and we're all around the same age, and someone like secretly messaged me about it, and it does feel kind of like a taboo subject. So I just want to hear just from the beginning how this started unfolding for you.
Yeah, well, I would say I don't even know exactly when it started. So that was the interesting thing about it is when people think about menopause, they generally think about, well, at least I did.
Mhm.
Um, I think about people in their 60s. I think about people that are entering into that phase of their lives. Um, but for me, it actually started much earlier. I was actually in my 30s when it started. So I'm 49 now, and
Okay.
I'm finishing. I'm actually what they consider now postmenopausal, which means that I have not had a period for 12 consecutive months
Okay.
without using anything. And so I'm actually considered postmenopausal now. So I actually went through a menopause time where I think my most active one was in the last 3 years. And a lot of things happen now. In retrospect, I know it was that old menopause sneaking its head in there. But some of my first and early symptoms that I was unaware that they were that kind of can symptomatically show up as something else and
Mhm.
maybe treated as something else that I kind of wanted to let people know about was one of my very first ones was vertigo.
Interesting.
So vertigo is pretty common and it has a lot of different um, reasons for it. It may not just always be menopause. It might be something else. It might be inner ear. It might be something else. But I remember walking down the hallways at a school that I was at and everything was just, spinning all the time. And I went through and it would come and go. And so I would go to the doctor and there would be nothing that would show up. It was very, it was just, they didn't know what was going on. Maybe you have an inner ear or something. We don't know, just
Medically unprofound. Like
medically unprofound.
we
Right.
don't know what to tell
Right.
you.
We don't know what's going on. Okay. So then that kind of came and went and it was manageable. It was what it was. And then I started having heart palpitations. So it would feel like just my heart would start beating really fast.
Mm.
And like I was anxious about something, or if you get your fight and flight mode and your heart just starts beating and you have, one way or another, are you gonna fight it or are you gonna fly, kind of
Yeah.
thing. You kind of get that feeling over you. So I went to the doctor then and they hooked me up and did a EKG. And they said, we think you might have had a heart attack before. This is in my 30s. And
Oh
I'm
wow.
thinking, oh my goodness, what?
Right.
And so they sent me to a heart, specialist and stuff. And they're like, no, there's nothing there. You're fine. And so during this time, of course, I also experienced some depression that went along with that, crying spells, things like that. So the doctor then ultimately put me on some antidepressants at that time, only antidepressants. Um, and it kind of came and went again. I took them faithfully and then I kind of went off them because I was like, this is dumb. And then flash forward just a few more years, probably in between that I didn't really have a lot of symptoms in between that I can pinpoint.
Mhm.
But then just within the last 3 years or so, things started returning. I had another bout of depression. This is pre-COVID.
Okay.
I think people are struggling with a lot of things because of COVID, but this was
Right.
pre-COVID even. Nothing was wrong in my life. There wasn't anything out of sorts. Everyone was good. My life was good. And I would have a crying spell. I had a period of time where I went about a week just crying uncontrollably for no reason.
Mm.
And to the point where I went to the emergency room. And my husband's like, what is wrong? And I said, I don't know. We are at Texas Roadhouse having a great dinner, and I start crying. Don't know why.
You're eating those honey buns and crying.
Right.
You know something's wrong.
They're out of rolls, Yeah. And so it was really concerning, and he didn't know how to help me. And I remember the look in his face. He just felt so helpless because he didn't know what was going on. And so we went to the emergency room, and the emergency room doctors performed the EKGs and did all those things, and just based on my history, and talked to me, and they sent a mental health professional in. And the mental health professional said, are you suicidal? I said, no. And they said, do you want to harm yourself or others? No, I'm just sad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I'm just sad. Obviously something is wrong. Well, there wasn't anything that they could do for me. They sent me home. And there was that is a feeling that I don't want anyone to go through. A very helpless feeling, like I don't know what's happening to me. And follow up with your primary care physician. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
I have a wonderful physician. She's very compassionate, very caring, or whatever. But they are taught to treat the symptoms. So at that time, my symptoms were depression and anxiety.
Mm.
So depression and anxiety, you treat those with prescription medication. So I was put on a Xanax and another antidepressant. Again, anything else would have just been totally foreign to me. Nowhere did I ever think it was anything else. And so I went on those, and those treated those symptoms, but it also took away a lot of my livelihood.
Mm.
When you're on something like that, and I still am on that medication, it takes away a part of me that is more outgoing.
Mm.
I became more introverted. And I think part of that is a menopausal thing too. You become introspective. But I also lost interest in a lot of things that I once liked. I lost interest in spending time with even my family, not my close family, but my extended family.
Mm-hmm.
I lost interest in spending time with my husband to some degree.
And this is from being on antidepressants or
I think
anxiety?
it was probably a combination between those two,
Mm-hmm.
and also being in the menopausal journey. So at that point, I probably would have been considered menopausal. So premenopausal is so there's 3 stages. So there's premenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal. The premenopausal stage is probably when I was experiencing the vertigos and the heart palpitations, and, just some of the things that come and go. Some people get, some hot flashes, but not many at that point. As your levels continue and you go into regular menopause, your levels continue to decrease, and you start to have some more. You might start to have those hot flashes. You might have periods of time where you experience your heart palpitations or your depression, or bouts of rage, or just different things that surface themselves. Your skin might change. You might have weight. You might have some weight gain in your belly, things of that nature, because your cortisol levels, which is also part of it, is affected through menopause as well. Then during that time, I was on an artificial birth control. So I had a Mirena.
Okay.
So which also puts a hormone into your body that mimics some of that natural. So a lot of times when you're in menopause, they might actually suggest that to women as a form of treatment for menopause. And each person is different, and I don't have a recommendation for anyone than myself. Right. For myself, I wanted to get off of that because I had been on birth control since I was like 14 or 15. So that's a lot of years on having hormones put into my body that weren't produced by my own body. They were produced other substance. So my doctor recommended, actually a specialist that I went to, a mental health professional that I went to, suggested that it might be something else. I went to have my Mirena removed by the suggestion from a mental health professional. And this was the first time I really thought about menopause, really thought about it. Is she took it out and she said, okay, so if we take this out or whatever, you're going to have to use another form of birth control or whatever as you enter menopause.
Okay. And how old were you at this point?
This was just 2 years ago. So I was at 47.
Okay.
I remember I looked at her like she was crazy. Hello, did you read my chart? I'm not that old.
Right. Yeah.
and so I that resonated with me, and I just thought, wow, that's so weird. So I went off and I continued to not have any periods, which I thought I wasn't having any periods because I had the Mirena in it, and sometimes that makes those disappear.
Right.
And so as they didn't continue, and I was looking at other options for controlling my birth control, and I started having headaches and started getting dizzy and started to have all these other symptoms. As I was talking to my mental health professional again, she said, have you ever had your levels taken? And I said,
and this
no.
is like a blood work thing. They're
blood work. Your blood work wrote,
Okay.
all your blood work drawn. I would be interested to find out where you are, because you said you're not having any periods, could you be? And I said, I don't think so,
Yeah.
And before this time, the interesting thing is my husband and I didn't plan our first one, and our second one, we were thinking about having a second one. And I was on birth control for both of them.
Oh my gosh.
So, I always felt like I was very fertile and very,
God's just putting babies in you.
right. Don't look at me, I'll get pregnant kind of a thing. And so it was very interesting because I did get pregnant a third time, right around the time that I started having the dizzy spells.
Interesting.
And it didn't end up producing a baby. I ended up having to have a DNC on that. My body didn't know it, but the baby's heartbeat had stopped at 6 weeks. And so 8 weeks. And so since it was my third one, they didn't bring me in for an ultrasound until I was 3 months along. And so my body kept thinking there was something there, only the baby was no longer alive. Right. And so what I've sort of found out from that is that my levels were such that it couldn't maintain a pregnancy. So all of these things kind of go in, hand in hand. As I look back at them, I should have known something was wrong. But again, my mind was people enter menopause in their 60s,
Right.
And so I went to the doctor, and I did have all of my blood work drawn, and they did a wonderful job. They, I don't know how many vials they took, a lot. And when the stuff came back, I was in menopause. And not only was I in menopause, my levels indicate I am almost done with menopause.
Wow.
I'm almost finished with menopause. So at that point, you go in and you have a conversation. She said, you probably should go into a hormone specialist. Here's a recommendation. I got hooked up with a provider, went and saw her, and she did a great job explaining all of the roles that your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone do in the production of all of those, in supporting all of the other endocrine systems, and your thyroid, and how it all works together. And when one is off, how it stops the brakes on the other, or one will overproduce, and you can become estrogen dominant. On all of these things that could explain some of the things that I was having happening. She put me on a regimen. She started me out with just progesterone. And so I was supplemented with progesterone. And then we went in and we added in the estrogen testosterone mix. And there are a couple different ways you can do that. Everybody's a little different. I started out with the cream because I wanted to go more natural route.
Okay.
And there's been some studies that have been disproven, but replacements have said to cause cancer if taken for a long time. I think that's been dispelled now, but it still is a little bit of a concern for people. So I started out with the creams and kind of a lower dose, and saw some relief to the other thing that I really, really had was some fatigue. So fatigue that couldn't be explained somewhere else. I had a job that required a lot of me, but not physically. And I was always, always, always tired, and my thyroid was fine. I would go in all the time and my thyroid was always fine. And so, I was healthy. I exercised, but I was overweight, at that time and things like that. And that's another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing else was really, that couldn't be explained was there. And so anyway, so we started progesterone, and then I started a natural cream mixture that was compounded for me. Okay. Based on my needs and my levels at a compound pharmacy. We've been tweaking that. And since we last talked, I've actually had a hormone pellet put in. It has testosterone and estrogen mix, and it releases slowly into the body over 3 months. And so every 3 months you go in and have it adjusted. Okay. They take your levels, and it's just like any other thing. If you are deficient in something, you need to replace it. And so that's my kind of big takeaway and aha is, if one thing is off in our bodies, our body lets us know it. And it's very, very good at letting us know this. Mm-hmm. And we just need to listen to our bodies and take note of the things that are wrong with us, and consider the fact that I was in my late 30s, early 40s when I started menopause.
Right. So it showed up at a time when normally we wouldn't attribute some of the symptoms you were feeling to that being the cause.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have never guessed.
And the medical professionals really weren't on the same page or supportive of that mindset either.
And I think too, I think the thing of it is there's so few. Everybody has, specialties. When you go to school, you're taught the basics of things, but you don't really delve into it until you get into practice and you decide what kind of practice you want to have. So I don't blame any person in particular for not pinpointing this. I think there was a taboo around it, and no one ever told me that I could possibly be in menopause until until my OB was taking the Mirena out. And I don't know why that is, but it is. I even sent some people close to me messages after I found this out and said, tell me about your journey. And they're older than I am. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I probably went through it, but it was nothing. And yes.
Very different experience.
Very different experiences. The other one, she said something like, yeah, I don't think I've done it yet. And I'm pretty sure she has. So I think as women, we need to be more open and honest with one another. I've also had great conversations with people saying, oh yeah, that sucks. That sucks. But it's not like, we're comfortable enough putting it out to social media, we hide that part of ourselves.
Right. Like you're not going to go on Facebook one day and go, I think I'm in menopause.
Right. Except for I did. So so I actually opened a Facebook page that is called Madam Menopause. And I just share little tidbits about menopause that hopefully if people are looking at it, they're just saying, oh, maybe that's menopause. Maybe I'm in menopause.
Yeah.
Just because I've also found a very good following. If anyone's looking for a very good follower, there's a lady in the UK, and she runs a very good one. It's called Menopausal Not Mad.
Oh, I love that.
Menopausal
I love that name
Not Mad.
because it resonates with me.
Well, and the thing of it is back when we weren't expected to live this long, right? And so Our purpose in life was to raise children, and then our purpose was done.
Mm-hmm.
Once our offspring was done, we were done.
Right.
Now the advances, and we know to take care of ourselves, and when the longevity has increased, we have usefulness past that. And so they used to lock the women up because they were hysteric. And that was how they were treated. That was their treatment.
Wow.
And when I think about that, I think about how sad and lonely that must have been. Or just even someone who would have been my mother-in-law's age, who had gone through that in probably silence.
Right.
Or a lot of judgment. And I want to take that away for people. Like, I want to tell them, I had no idea. And what was interesting is I had a lot of different actions other than my depression and my anxiety that surfaced. Suddenly everything felt numb. I was numb. A job that I thought I was going to retire from became something I no longer wanted or needed. Other opportunities came up, took that opportunity, and looking back, probably it was menopause. It was a menopausal thing. It was a midlife thing.
Yeah.
You know, they always talk about men having midlife crises.
Right.
I believe I was in a crisis. Didn't know what it was, did not recognize it, was very foreign to me. Left a career that I had worked very hard for, went in pursuit of something else that I thought was going to make me happy, was going to fill this void I was having in my life.
Right.
Lasted a very short time. Did not make me happy whatsoever. Quit that job. Got another wonderful position, part-time. Thought, I'm going to work part-time. That's going to make me happy.
Right.
Didn't fulfill me. Didn't make me happy. I'm still in search. I'm still a little bit in who am I?
Yeah.
What do I want now? What does life look like for me now? Having 2 grown children and some grandchildren. No one needs me. What's my purpose for still being here? All of these things are wrapped up in this neat little thing we call menopause, right? And all these feelings and emotions are things that we're hiding away in closets. And we're not having conversations about, I'm married. Does my marriage look like it did when it started? Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. It looks totally different. And it's something we commit to every day now, to spend time with just ourselves, not to take each other for granted, because it goes by so fast.
Right. It really does.
And that's what I want people to know is it's okay to talk about it. And actually, we're all going through it. Believe it or not, all women go through this.
Right.
Whether it's you have to have a hysterectomy and you're forced into it, or you naturally progress into it. We're all going to experience it. So I think that we should be talking about it more openly and more honestly, because I think that's the only way through it is through each other.
I totally agree. So ageism is the only ism that all of us will face.
Absolutely.
And I do think that menopause is part of that conversation with ageism. So I don't want to scroll too far, but I think you are exactly right and you are spot on. I love the idea of midlife curiosity. So instead of feeling like we're in a crisis of trying to figure all this stuff out, to just be curious about it.
Yeah. And since I've learned that, I have actually been in that process of what do I want for the rest of my life now? Not part of my life is over. I will always mourn a little bit of that because they were great times. I had a great life. God has provided me very well. But I also am very excited about, I'm 49.
Yeah.
I could live to my 80s.
Yeah.
What is life going to look for me now? I have so much opportunity, so much available to me now.
Right.
I can go on trips by myself, and I have. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to go a week and just go to Texas and enjoy myself. I have people down there that I meet up with, and I love them, and they become very close to me. Go see family in Florida by myself.
Right.
Last year at this time, I went to a conference and I stayed on a sailboat.
Oh, how fun.
It was very great.
Who
It
would ever
was very
think
great.
to do that?
Right. And it was just rental. It was just a
Oh, how fun is that?
Airbnb, but it was a little sailboat, and it was lovely. It was a moment that I'll never forget. And it was just, you woke up and you heard the seagulls, and you walk along this thing, and it's just you
Yeah.
know, and you have to do it safely. There were times that I probably should have been a little more safe.
Well,
But
the idea is that you're exploring different avenues to do something, you
yeah,
feel like there's options. I think that's
the
really
the
key.
hard part is figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy? Because you don't know what brings me joy. That's the part I still struggle with.
Yeah.
I know there are certain things that bring me joy. My family brings me joy. My grandchildren bring me joy. But outside of that, who am I?
Right.
What am I good at? What can I bring? What do I want to bring to
Right.
life?
Well,
These
and
are the things I'm still exploring.
many of the people listening to this are caregivers. So they are in the thick of trying to help an older family member or a family member. And so finding joy can be really hard. I think it does also tie back to what you were talking about with exhaustion, where we just wake up and think, well, I'm exhausted because my life is exhausting, or what I'm doing is exhausting. And there could be another explanation for the level of exhaustion that you're feeling.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fatigue is something that is generalized.
Yeah.
So it's a generalized thing, and it's an everyday thing that you fight when you're in menopause. And it gets better. So that's the good news, is it does get better. Once you find the right formula, you start to feel like your old self. And so I'm starting that journey now, and I continue to work with them. The one thing I would tell them too is, if they're caring for their loved ones, I just lost someone very close to me. My mother-in-law passed in August suddenly, with complications of heart, things that we're not aware of. We don't know where it came from.
Wow.
So I would say, take that as a gift. And it's hard. And it's hard. I know it is. But every day that you get to wake up with your loved one, even though you have to provide care for them, is another day for them to be with you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I would like to say to that population, because it is exhausting. And thank you for taking care of them, man. I hope I have that gift. I hope that gift is given to me.
Yeah.
And I hope that I'm appreciative of that gift. But every day, wake up and say, there is a reason that I'm caring for this person. There is a reason that this person needs me, and that I'm placed in this position now. And look at it that way. Look at it as an opportunity to be with that person. Would be my advice to them after losing someone so quickly.
I think that's really sound advice. And I think everything that you've described about your experiences with mood and fatigue, the vertigo, just some of the heart palpitations, some of the things that people wouldn't normally think are associated with menopause. It's so important for people to be paying attention to that stuff, because it does impact how you are showing up to care for the people that you love.
Yeah. The other thing that I really would like to mention is, I think for me, my filter was gone. And it's okay to have excessive feelings. So all of a sudden, I lost the ability to filter my thoughts.
Like, here.
Yeah. And I've had to learn how to do that again, to filter, to draw a filter and draw through a filter. I was not very kind to some people, and I realized that that's not the way to be. Now, then I didn't care. You just don't care. And that is a product of menopause. You don't care. You don't care what you say or how you say it. You lose the tactfulness that you once had. It's very,
Well, I'm thinking about this in terms of how I have been working to show up online for people. And obviously my care-o-meter has lowered for what other people think, because I'm taking these projects on that I think are so fun. I hope I'm channeling this perimenopausal or premenopausal for good, but I'm sure there's areas in my life where it's not great.
Yeah. Well, and you know, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And we just need to keep reminding ourselves of that and to keep saying they're doing the best they can and I need to do the best I can.
Yeah.
And part of that is taking care of myself in the best way possible.
Right.
So that means showing up and making time for myself. That's something absolutely that through this journey, and my healthcare professional has said, you take care of you so that you can take care of other people.
Yes.
And that has been the most important thing, and that it's okay and it's actually needed to take care of you so that you can take care of someone else.
Yeah.
Don't expect someone else to put your life vest on. You need to put on your own life vest. You
Ooh,
need to take
that's
care.
so good.
Yeah. No one else is going to secure your life vest for you. You need to do it yourself.
That is,
And so that means showing up and taking care of yourself through time alone, if that's what you need to introspectively think about things. If that means physically, you need to be taking care of yourself physically every day, showing up for yourself every day, 30 minutes a day, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you enjoy. Don't make it something you don't want to do.
right.
Make something you enjoy doing, that you want to do, that you look forward to, and you will do every day, because it's the everydays that build up, right? That means supplementing where you need to, that vitamins, those minerals, those things that you don't think you're going to need, those Centrum Silvers, pretty decent. I mean, for one pill,
Just
good stuff.
saying. Just
I'm taking a lot more than that now, but they are an essential. They are an essential to a diet that we lax on.
yeah.
And so that would take us into our other topic, and you know, I could go on and on about that, but you know, taking care of yourself means taking care of your vessel. It means taking care of what's given to you to drive what's in you.
Yeah.
Your outward is fueled by your inward. So whatever you're putting in here is going to show up here.
Yeah.
It's going to show up everywhere. And that's the other thing that I have learned through the journey. So that has been super, super important to this part too. So I don't know if you wanted to go into that part or if you want to make that a separate session.
I think we'll make that a separate session. This was awesome
Probably a
for
good idea.
today. Yeah,
Yes.
because I agree. I could spend a lot of time talking about that. So
Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
appreciate you having an
thanks.
open discussion about menopause.
Yep, I'm an open book about it. I mean, there's not too much that I will not answer about my menopausal journey, just because, like I said, every woman is going to go through it.
Yeah.
And the majority of women right now are in that age bracket.
Right.
So
like
the
population.
majority of women are going through menopause right now.
Wow. Look out.
Right. Look out. There's great things to come though.
There are great things to come.
But we need to have an open conversation, and we need to realize that we're okay.
Yeah.
That this is a gift, that we're being given another day, that we're not going to be put away in some place saying we're, you know,
right. Yeah.
We are at our wits' end, that we can do it, and we can do it while we're taking care of others too. It's okay.
What's the name of your Facebook group?
It is, my Facebook page is just called Madam Menopause.
Okay. Is there an E on
Menopause.
Madam?
Nope, just
Okay.
Matt. Oh yeah, M-A-D. No, there's no E.
No E.
M-A-D-A-M. Madam Menopause. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Take care. Okay, that was so